Well, good evening, everybody. We apologize for being late. Technical difficulties on my end kept us from starting at the designated 9 o'clock time, but enjoy spending some time with me and my guest this evening on BCI Courtside Live. I'm your host, Clark Kellogg. BCI CSL is a series of real-time online interactive public events that connect professional basketball players to kids and fans around the world. This event features unprecedented access to players about both the practical and spiritual aspects of life in the pros. Thanks to Athletes in Action for partnering with us on this CSL event. You can check out their website, www.athletesinaction.org. We're happy to host this BCI Courtside Facebook Live using Blue Jeans on social. And as we get set for the final week of basketball season, the Final Four weekend in San Antonio, when I first got started in broadcasting at CBS and doing my first Final Four, it was 1997 in Indianapolis, which is actually where I spent my pro career and 32 years with that organization, the Indiana Pacers. But I was blown away by the magnitude of the Final Four. I had attended one in Indianapolis, but being part of the broadcasting crew and seeing the thousands and thousands of fans there ready for the public practices on the Friday before the weekend games took me by storm. As a matter of fact, I tried to walk the short distance from the hotel we were staying in to the RC, and it took me 35 minutes to walk 4 blocks because people were stopping me, wanting to talk about the team choosing, and I was worn out. They had offered to send a car to take me that short distance, but it was so nice outside, I figured I could walk there. It wouldn't be any problem. I've taken the car ever since. No matter how short the walk is, I'm in the car. Now it's time, folks, to meet our participants joining us tonight. We start with Ruben Boomche. He moved to the United States in 1996 from his native country of Cameroon to attend high school in Washington, D.C. before university from 97 to 2001. A real force on the inside, would average just under 10 points and 7 rebounds per game, and is the 4th all-time block shots leader at Georgetown with 255 behind some names that I'm sure you know: Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, Dikembe Mutombo, and then Ruben Boomche. He played with the Portland Trail Blazers and Cleveland Cavaliers prior to finishing out his career in Greece and Germany in 2011. Now he is a data scientist. He got his master's degree in applied mathematics at Georgetown University in 2014. Welcome, Ruben. Our next guest is Billy Thompson. He was known as a fierce competitor from All-American to winning championships with the Louisville Cardinals and back-to-back NBA championships with the Los Angeles Lakers. The Guinness Book of World is one of a few people, a handful, to accomplish the rare feat of winning championships on every level of his career. As chaplain for the Miami Heat, he inspires young people in general, to greatness as he travels across the globe preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, speaking to youth, leaders in both the corporate and faith-based arenas. His heart is to see people fulfill purpose and to maximize their potential. Billy, thank you tonight. And then finally, Joe Crispin just finished his 2nd season as head men's basketball coach at Rowan University. In his first season at the helm, Crispin led the Profs to a 17-10 record with an 11-7 mark in the New Jersey Athletic Conference. Crispin was a standout player at Penn State University. He later spent time in the NBA with the Los Angeles Lakers and Phoenix Suns. He has played professionally in numerous European countries, including Ukraine, Italy, Turkey, Spain, Poland. Crispin was a 4-year starter at Penn State from 97 to 2001, was named to the Big Ten All-Conference team twice, and ended his career just shy of 2,000 career points. In Happy Valley, the Nittany Lions reached the Sweet 16 and also made 2 Final Four trips in the NIT. Actually, his alma mater is busy at work, I think, even as we speak, in the
About to
Final
start
Four of the
shortly.
NIT. Yeah, good deal. He's the owner and director of Chris 2008, an organization which conducts various camps, clinics, and leagues for players in grades K through 12. Ruben, Billy, Joe, certainly appreciate you guys carving out some time this evening to share your hearts and your stories. Before we get into conversation along the personal journeys of each of you, give me a sense of any particular tournament memory that you guys might have from your time in college. Ruben, I'll start with you.
Yeah, my biggest memory is my senior year. We were able to make it to the Sweet 16. We had a very young team when I started as a freshman and went through some struggle here and there, but we worked through it and were fortunate enough to make it to the Sweet 16. We went to Boise, Idaho. Never been there before for the first
Uh-huh.
round. It was a great experience, and we lost, unfortunately, to Maryland, which is big rival school in the DC area in the Sweet 16. So it was an awesome experience, really. Being a senior as well, to be able to get to that point. Although it was sad, being the last game, realizing in the locker room, but we definitely enjoyed the journey.
Very good. How about you, Joe? Two Final Fours in the NIT and also a Sweet 16 appearance with Penn State. I mean, in one of your
Yeah,
seasons at Penn State. Yeah.
yeah. The NIT was fun because of Madison Square Garden, but it's still not the NCAA. Probably the first thing that comes to mind, sadly, in my mind, is losing. You always want to
Yeah.
end on top, but we did have a great upset and a couple good games in the first round. We played in the Superdome. Those are memories that you just you take with you for the rest of your lives. You did something special. I had a good group of guys that we played with, good coaching staff, represented the community. It's something that now you're talking 17 years later. It's easy to go back to that Penn State community and reconnect with people because you did something like that. And that, at the end of the day, it's about those relationships and with your teammates and coaches, but also the larger community that comes back to you.
Billy, you had a chance to be a participant in this weekend that we're about to embark on, the Final Four, and then you got to ultimately win your last game in college. Talk a little bit about your memories of being an NCAA tournament participant and champion.
I mean, it's nothing like being in the NCAA tournament, March Madness. It's a lot of madness going on for basketball fans. And to be able to be at Louisville and make it to the championship game where we beat Duke my senior year, that was pretty awesome. It was awesome because for me, the year before, we were in the NIT, Joe, playing in the one that most people didn't want to play in that you just mentioned. So we turned it around the next year, man, and won it all. So it was pretty cool. So that's my biggest
Awesome.
memory.
Awesome. Before we move on and get more personal with you guys, as you've watched the tournament, if you have this year, we've got our four Final Four teams. Any of you want to venture to take a pick as to who's going to be crowned champion on Monday night?
I'm going for Loyola.
Joe, I'll let you start.
I'm pulling for them.
I want to say I want to say Kansas actually, but I got to go with the Big Ten. I love Michigan. I love how they play. So I'm kind of hoping the Big Ten pulls the day.
Yeah. How about you,
Yeah,
Ruben?
Michigan,
I missed your comment.
I'm rooting for Loyola. I'd like to see history made somehow again. It'll be awesome to see. Yeah, I'm rooting for Loyola. Otherwise, it'll be Villanova because they were the biggest.
Oh, okay. All right. Got you. What about you, Billy?
mine is the same as Ruben, man. I just would love to see Chicago do what they're doing, man. It's amazing. And of course,
Yeah.
Villanova
Yeah.
is the
They've been a
team to
great
beat.
story.
Yeah.
And they're fun to watch. I mean, this team is a very enjoyable team to watch from my standpoint because of how they share the ball, how hard they play, how they are very efficient. They're a lot more physical than people think, and some folks wonder if they really have the capacity to do it. But I don't think there's a lot of separation between these four teams that we're going to see in San Antonio.
No.
It's going to be
Yeah, I agree
interesting.
with you.
Sure.
Point, the separation is not that much separation, and at this point, the drive from the heart. Who really wants it? And whatever abilities they have, whatever they practice that works for them, they're very focused and executing well, and they're doing it. All four of these teams, but definitely Loyola Chicago has just been a shock to a lot of people.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, let's talk about basketball and how it's impacted and continues to impact you guys' lives and some of the lessons that you've been able to take from the experience and experiences in basketball and be able to apply them to what you're doing now. Billy, give me a sense of your journey, how basketball has kind of helped shape who you are, and then how you use basketball to continue to um, impact others.
You know, I love basketball. Told the guys earlier, I played football, basketball, baseball, sports, but when I became a freshman, when I was a freshman, I realized that I wanted to go all in on basketball. And so all my life, I just went all in and played hard, played to win and have fun. I wasn't really even thinking about NBA coming up in high school, college. I really wasn't thinking about that. Every time I went on the court, I just loved playing the game, loved being with my teammates, loved going after the victory and playing the game. But that correlates with preaching and ministering, which I do now, in that it's all about people and relationships. And I mean, some of the guys that I played with in high school, I mean, they're friends forever. College players, friends forever. Same thing in NBA, guys, we're friends forever because it's about relationships. And so that's really what I grew into learning, that relationships are so important, especially as a pastor in ministry, dealing with people all day. You have to be able to relate to people and not just relate, but really care about people and helping people be better off when they leave your presence. And so
Awesome.
basketball is still a part of my life. I'm a chaplain for the Miami Heat. I'm still working with my son who trains players. He trains NBA players. He trains college players, elementary, middle school kids. I'm in there helping him a little bit now and then. I'll never stop playing basketball. You know,
Yeah,
I love it
yeah.
that much.
Ruben, how about you?
Yeah.
You've obviously, yeah, that's awesome. How about you, Ruben? You have gone a different path after playing basketball, but I'm sure there's some things that you've taken from your basketball experience to help you in what you're doing now as a data scientist.
Yes, I grew up playing soccer, like every kid in Cameroon, and I didn't start basketball until I was 15, and it was just for fun, really. There was no dream or thought of ever becoming a professional basketball player or coming to the U.S. God just opened that path for me. It came unexpectedly, the way it happened, and I was blessed to come not only to the US but to attend a school like Georgetown. But my focus was still on academics. But everything that I've become, everything I have today, is because of basketball. It helped me, help my family. After basketball, after I retired in 2011, it helped me get the job I have today, even though I had to go back to school. And I've learned a great deal, just the sense of working as a team, with other people. It applied to my job today. You have to be able to function within an environment with people from different culture, different ethnic group, different belief, and be able to mesh that together for for one purpose. The sense of just working hard, giving yourself more than what you think, that you learn from basketball. But, we practice all the time and you push yourself probably harder than you ever thought you can sometime. And it applies also, as a data scientist, there's so much learning, there's so much practice, and you have to learn, you have to push yourself, you have to work hard. So there's a lot of lessons that borrowed from basketball who today are still helping me a lot within my environment.
That's good.
Pick
Looks like Clark might be having some technical difficulties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Might need to take a
Yeah,
page out of my brother's broadcasting book and start moderating for you.
exactly.
Well, I'd say to
That's good
piggyback
stuff,
on that, I
Ruben.
mean,
That's a good answer, man. Good stuff.
and to piggyback on that, I mean, the couple things that came to mind, you guys are talking, I mean, a lot of it's similar experience, is playing for communities. One of the things during my professional career that I enjoyed was you're connecting with communities through basketball. You're connecting with people through basketball. And it's something that I emphasize to my players now abundantly that they can't fully appreciate. Is you go overseas, half the time I didn't speak the language. If I tried, I didn't
That's
do it
right.
well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know Billy, you played in Turkey. I played in Turkey as well. I got nothing as far as Turkish was concerned.
No.
But when you step on that court, I had some good games against Fenerbahce. I know you were at Fenerbahce, but when you step on that court, you
Yeah.
can connect with people through the game. You can
Yeah.
spread joy through the game, and no matter you speak the
Yeah.
language, you
Yeah.
can meet them on the street and barely converse. But when they come and see you play,
Yeah.
there is a connection there. There's a community connection. So one of
That's,
the things I emphasize to my players is that our mission is spreading basketball happiness, and that's why we did it in the first place. It wasn't just about us, but it's about how we can make our communities better
Better.
through the game.
amen.
So you look back on
Amen.
those experiences, the experiences you guys had. They were special because of not only who you did it with, but who you did it for.
Well, yeah.
And oftentimes that gets
Yeah.
lost in the business of basketball. It's easy to lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you were talking about with your kids, how you want them to learn to have fun along the way and emphasize the fun. Because only a percent, a small few make it to the NBA. So there's a lot of fun in the game that they can have while they pursue their other careers. And
Oh,
and
and
being Christians, yeah, yeah, being Christians, God, He gives us a certain way, certain place to go, profession. He leads us, so it's important that we direct our kids in those ways and let them
Yes.
find out that something in them that may not be basketball, maybe basketball or just not bigger, just another way.
Yeah.
Well, and oftentimes I found we want to direct our kids in that direction, but sometimes the kids direct us if we're listening carefully. And
Yeah.
oftentimes we don't listen well enough. I often joke during the tournaments. I have a son who's 11, and we go to these tournaments, and often they seem to be more active and sometimes have more fun between games than they do during games. Uh,
Yeah, I
because
remember my kids like my son.
they just love hanging out. They love connecting with each other.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, the older you get, the more serious things become. It's really easy to lose sight of the
To
fact
the
that
fact, yeah.
you're building meaningful relationships.
Man, that's why I smile a lot, guys, because God is so good, and the Bible, God teaches us that He wants us to come back as little children. He wants us to keep the joy of living, the joy of salvation. Don't forget that joy, having fun in life and marriage and work. I always say work hard and play hard, man. So the kids, it's good to have them doing that.
I think that brings up a good point. When you guys think about your professional days, I know for me, one of the challenges I always tell people is the best thing about playing professional basketball is that you're playing professional basketball. But the hardest thing about playing professional basketball is that it's professional basketball. It's work.
Yes.
How did you guys find that and balance
Ruben over
that?
there
Yeah.
laughing.
How did you balance that as players? Because it was not easy. It was labor, and it was something, that it was a have to as a job, not just a want to as a job.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like I have more fun playing basketball since I retired.
Wow. Yeah.
Playing every Tuesday with a group of guys the past 4 or 5 years. After I
Nice.
retired, I took a year off. I didn't do anything. I didn't want to touch a basketball, it was like and
Hmm.
then playing with these guys, it just like brought back the joy of why I started playing basketball in the first place. I played in NBA for 3 years, not to the expectation I had. Things happen, and when I decided to try to go to Europe, it's because I've lost that joy for me. And I went to Greece
Yeah.
and basically rediscover it. And I said, it's not about the money. I'm not having fun. I'm just going to stay in Europe because now I was part of a team and all the work I was doing, and I was seeing that actually, manifest within the team and just enjoying and just playing. It was the best thing. And I just said, I remember telling my agent, don't call me again about teams wanting me to go try out. Yeah, I told him. And I went to Germany and just stayed there. I say I'm happy, I'm having fun. It was
Amen.
Joe, to answer your question, it was still work, but it was more fun. There was work. So it gave me a little better balance in that sense than actually being in NBA where it just seems like it was just so hard. It was not enjoyable, and you work and you're not getting the opportunity or something happened, whatever may be the case. And I just say, no, I can't do this. This is not why I started playing basketball. But now is the best time of my life with basketball. You should come see me
Is,
play on
is that just
Tuesday.
because you're dominating and dunking on people, or just because you
Pa-
really, you know?
Part of that too, because I'm older than most of those guys, and I told them, I'm 40 years old, and you guys are 25. I'm still running faster than you, and I'm dunking than you. So don't say
Hey,
it.
that's good too. Praise God. That's awesome.
Yes.
I
I'm
think
I'm
that's one of the things that
54, man. I still can dunk the ball, so on a good night, so I thank God for that.
Oh,
I,
praise God. Yes,
yeah,
at
that's good
55
for
years
you. I
old.
wasn't. I wasn't worried about dunking at 24. So that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Special
I
K
think
is
that's one of
back.
the things people. There he is. I think that's one of the things people underestimate, when they think about the professional game and what these guys go through. Um, you know, Overseas has its own grind, but it's not the same as the amount of games you played in the NBA. I remember just my first month as a rookie,
Right.
just like, there's another game to play? Holy cow. Like,
And you're on
and
a
I had to.
plane going somewhere, east to west coast, and yeah.
Yeah, it's like shoot, and
Yeah.
I was used to getting all
Yeah.
jazzed up before every game as a college player, and then you become a professional and you realize like, yo, I can't get jazzed up every other night. I got to
No,
find a healthy little rhythm
No.
here, or else you'll burn yourself out real quick. And
yeah.
that's something that, from a professional standpoint, even from a spiritual standpoint, emotional standpoint, you could easily get wiped out playing a game.
Yeah, and you learn watching these older, mature players. The vets, man. You learn quick. When I came in the league, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I was his rookie with the Lakers, and you know, after games, Cap, we call him Cap. We'd eat, but he'd eat quick, man, and he'd head straight to bed, man, because we were up early at the airport. So he knew the schedule. He was retiring the next year, so you just learn how to follow these guys, man, and be been and that's the same thing in the spirit, man. God gives us teachers. He gives us fathers in the spirit, mothers for the sister spirit that been there and love the Lord and know what they're doing pretty much. And you just, it's not hard, man. You don't have to rebuild something that's already been working. You learn to follow them, like you said. You learn that the NBA is a grind, and they're trying to expand the league a little bit now to um, give them more time in between games and things like that. But these guys need it, man. It's a lot of work, and a lot of people don't understand that. They think it's easy when you're flying through the air, or you, Ruben, blocking a bunch of shots, dunking on guys. They think, oh, look at that, But man, the hours and the
Yeah.
traveling and the injuries and playing hurt. Go ahead, Ruben. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's a grind. I mean, physically, like Joe, you said, you get wiped out after 1 or 2 months, right? You
Yeah.
hit that rookie wall, and you think things are okay. You come to practice, like you have no energy. It's tough. It's tough.
I
Then if
often
you
tell
bless, you have
people, Ruben, for you play on a Tuesday night, you don't have to play, right? If you're not
no.
up for it that night, you can skip it, watch the game at night, and it's not a have to, it's a want to, it's a
It's
get
a
to.
one. Yeah.
But that is the way play is supposed to be, and that's what the children can teach us. That's what the young kids can teach us. That I often tell parents, dealing with youth players, I say, listen, oftentimes you want your kids to start working like pros, but you don't realize that so many of all the pros want to be kids again,
Yes.
and you actually have to fight, um, to become like a child again, and to tap into the joy of real play and the joy of being on a team, and the joy of participating for something greater than yourself. And a lot of times people don't realize, no matter how much money you make, it is a difficult thing to balance. It's a difficult thing to do.
Mm.
Joe, you said something powerful, man. Being with the right teammates. You
Yeah.
can be on the team, but the teammates aren't right, and there's no fun in that, man. But when you have great teammates and everybody's in for the championship, not for themselves, that's a great. That's fun. That's how you want to play, man. And I've been blessed to be on the Lakers and Louisville, where we had players, man. We were working together. Nobody was really selfish, just really trying to win the game. And you do have fun. You lose, you lose. We gave our best, but you
That's
enjoyed it.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Clark, you back with us?
I'm back in video. Can you guys hear me now?
We
Yes, we
can.
can.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I've been enjoying hearing you all just converse. This has been kind of cool.
We
Necessity is the mother of invention, and you guys just flowed right into doing your thing.
We're still not as good as you,
Yeah.
my friend.
Well, we knew we better do
I just
something like
faded.
that because you would
I
be
hear you guys
drilling us
fading in
afterwards.
and out a little bit.
Well, we were talking about the challenges of work and play, and making play our work. Um, and I'm sure there's that can relate to a lot of people on a lot of levels. Not only just spiritually, but in the workplace and in relationships and in family. Um, what were some of the challenges for you guys? I don't know. I had kids overseas. I had, at one point, four of our kids overseas. My wife had two of them overseas. Some of the challenges balancing that family and work play life during your careers.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I
Yeah.
had
Go ahead.
my oldest was born in Germany. So maybe luckily we only had one, not four or five at a time. But um, it was having my wife in Germany. We managed to speak a little bit of German, where I think she did. I did a little bit more because I actually took some German class before. I'm ashamed, I should have been fluent in German. But the little thing, like, she managed to, like, be able to go to the store and know what she was doing. And we also had some good friends around. So we had a lot of people who were married with kids and like that. So we had a pretty good community where when we would travel for 2 or 3 days or go play Euro League somewhere out for a week, that they were kind of hanging around each other and having the kids play together. So that was a nice part. At least when we live in Germany with our oldest one. So wasn't too bad. It was just kind of being away from them, for 7 at a time. But it was still better than in the NBA where you can be away for 2 weeks. You had that situation, right, with kids.
Yep.
Hmm. Yeah, for me, my son Billy, he was born here, and then we went straight over to overseas to Italy, and just traveling with a young kid overseas. Like you said, it's good when you have some uh, people from that country, natives that really become friends, and we all probably have that. And you realize that. because you're American, it doesn't mean a thing when you meet Italians or Turkish people like we've met that become your friends, real friends, and it helps you assimilate while you're playing in these foreign countries, doing your job because you're there for business. They can send you home like that, but it's good to have people like that to help you get comfortable. They show you around. The team gives you a guide, a translator. You call them when you need them, but it's great to meet friends
Yeah.
and you start hanging out with those guys, going to the local places, and it becomes fun now, and not just for you, player, but your family, and that was good.
Yeah, what would you say? I mean, one of the things that comes to mind as you guys talk is, the relationships you build with people in the community. But I also think of just some of the ways our relationships formed as a family. My wife and I mean, the first year we went overseas, my poor wife, and within 1 year, I was touring in China, and then I went to an NBA camp, and then I got cut from a CBA team, and then I went to another CBA team. Then we went to Greece, and
Yeah.
you know,
Ooh.
oftentimes, I mean, that was the first year of marriage for her. She thought she was signing up for the NBA, and that's what she got, you know. So she, but one of the things
Well,
is just,
thank God you loved
oh
her.
yeah, and one of the things we often talk about though is that was a definite question about diversity or adversity. We go through that situation and you're traveling and you're moving and it's tough personally and then also in your marriage. The only way to grow up is and to get stronger is to be tested. So sometimes that professional life can test you in ways that almost are concentrated, right? I mean, there's in a short amount of time you can go through a whole lot of stuff and because of that I felt like I saw a lot of growth in her and even growth in our marriage. uh, one of the things
Amen.
uh, One of the things that just came up from the questions from folks watching was a question regarding accountability just in our walk and how important that is and how you guys manage that during your playing days.
Yeah, I was going to say, overseas for my wife, it was a hard thing because she wasn't really working. And so my last year overseas was in Israel. Though they speak English, and it's one of the best countries for foreign players, American players, to play in because most of the people speak English, she still didn't work, and she had her profession in her desires. And so we stopped that last year there and came back so that she could fulfill her dream and go into her profession and do some things she wanted to do. So, you get into that thing where you're playing, but then what about the wife? Is it good for her? And you think of those things. And you have to think of those things because you're married. It's not just all about you, it's about us. And, that's one of the things that help keep you married. We've been married 26 years. I listened and left Israel and went home. But
Yeah, I think
yeah,
personally speaking, I think my wife was tougher overseas than I was, so I think I was all right. One of the things we do miss just the overseas life, and it was a test of faith in many respects, but we often did find community. Was the fact that we had a lot of quiet time. It was a quieter lifestyle. I read a whole lot more books. Spent time with the kids and more people during my overseas time, probably more than anything else. And a lot of times you come back and you get in the race here in the States, and it's one thing after another, and it's easy to get caught up in it. Um, but that is one of the benefits that I found of being overseas. There was a little bit slower pace to life when you were able to stop. Did you experience that as well, Ruben?
Yes, definitely. We really enjoy our time in Europe to the extent that my wife would talk often about going back there, even for a year or two. Because it was definitely, you just think of going to lunch for hour and a half or two, just enjoy it, enjoying, like you said, the pace of life is a little slower. And every time we come back to the US over the summer, it was, as you say, it was just racing, and then you go back, you're like, okay, it's same thing to me when I go back to my country in Cameroon. It was the same thing. It was like you go and kind of relax, right? Things are a little slower. As soon as I'm thinking about going back to the US, I already have a million things running in my mind, things I need to do that I should do. But we really enjoyed. We got, living in Europe, and the great thing that was for us was being able to go to other countries, quicker,
Yeah,
for a weekend, traveling around, visiting. We wish we've done it more. We went to several countries, but we're like,
yeah.
we probably should have done it a little bit more. So, so we like traveling. We enjoy it. Maybe we get a chance again to do it, especially take our kids. We hope we'll be able to do it, soon enough. But it has its challenge. But living in Germany, most Germans speak very good German. I mean, English, I want to say. So the transition there was a little smoother for us. And then because we're basketball player, people wanted to be around you. They want to talk to you, get to know you. So it was a nice time, definitely.
Well, even if we shift gears here for a
Mark, you
bit,
with us, man?
I think he's technically in and
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Well, we had another question come up, shifting gears a little bit, just asking about
yeah.
the transition from college to the professional ranks. What are some of the ways you prepared? I got a couple things that come to mind, but Billy, why don't you start us off with that?
Um, when I went to the University of Louisville, I was the #1 basketball player in America. And that summer, we played in a little gym that we practiced in called Crawford Gym. In
Yeah,
that gym was Rod McCray, Scooter McCray, Darrell Griffith, um, and Derek Smith. And that first game that night when we played pickup, the basketball, the shot hit the back of the rim and it went all the way up in the air. And I was waiting to go get it when we go get it. Being the #1 basketball player in America, I knew how to go get rebounds. But I went when I was about to go get it, they took off and got it. And so right there, later that night, I made the transition from college basketball to I'm from high school basketball to college basketball. I
yeah,
said, if I'm going to thrive here, I need to adjust, and I need to adjust quickly, or I'm gonna look bad out here in court. So immediately I adjusted. As soon as that ball started hitting the rim, I started jumping when they were jumping. I wasn't getting it at first, but I started to get those rebounds just like they were getting it. Things were moving faster and faster, and I picked up on that, and I started to move my game faster. Same thing happened when I went from Louisville to the Lakers. Like the thing about the NBA is they don't think about it. They already saw what they were going to do before they do it. It's just
yep.
spontaneous, more spontaneous. And I had to just think and see the path and just move right into it. There's no thinking. You got to just do it. And especially playing with Magic, if you weren't ready, you'd be sitting back. Magic can throw that ball and hit you upside your head if you're not looking. So and if you don't catch it, man, you're on the bench. So you had to adjust quickly. It's a faster game. It's a strong game. It's men out there in the NBA. And I don't know, Clark is moderating, but people that may be listening don't know about Clark. His rookie year in the NBA, he averaged 20 points and 10 rebounds as a rookie. He was all rookie team. He was a monster out there. It's a big man's game on the NBA level, and you learn to adjust. And I want to say this, Joe, you learn to adjust, Ruben, and in your spirit. It's the same way. God tells us, Jesus lets us know that there were people of little faith and people of great faith. And then it's be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So in our soul, in our mind, our thoughts, God wants us to also get strong, move from children to men of God, strong men. So in both the basketball, there's doctors, there's this maturity, this growth of earning, knowing what you're doing, and you man up in it, or you woman up in it, and you really you you can stand in it, and you can live out of there and you can thrive out of there, not just for yourself, but for others around you. My wife always says relationships should be mutually beneficial. If we partner up, we're doing anything together, then not only should I be blessed from what you offer, what you bring to the table, but you should be blessed by what I offer and what I bring to the table. So
That's
just
good.
a little something, man. Yeah,
Well, and I think that's a good point. I
guys.
mean, when you talk about transitions, oftentimes our best seasons in life are when there are transitions. They're difficult. They take time. I think, I'll speak to it first, maybe Ruben, but you make that analogy between that college to the NBA. One of the things that really struck me, I often joke about my career. I started with the greatest team in the world. I had nowhere to go but down. Um, but one of the things that it's true. It's like, unless I stay here, I'm going down. This is as good a team as you're ever going to be on. But one of the things that really struck me was the speed of the game was faster, but the game itself was simpler. There was just a greater simplicity to the game. And I literally, I tell people all the time, I learned more in the first 2 months of my NBA season than I had in years. I mean, it was an education, triangle offense and spacing and movement. And you're playing with the old guys, and the old guys look at the young guys and say, "What in the world are you doing? You don't even know how to play this game, son." And of course, I was ready to admit it. I don't. But as the years go by, you realize, oh, this is what they meant, and then you become that guy if you play long enough to say, hey, simplify the game, let it come to you. You're playing with great players. You don't have to run around and do all the stuff you used to do. And that was a big transition, and that's something that I often tell younger players. When you take that next step, wherever it is, it could be to the high school team, it could be to the college team, or it could be to the JV, to the varsity team, or to the pros. Humble yourself and be prepared to learn a different game. Ruben, you might have experienced that even going over to
Yeah.
Europe as compared to the NBA.
Yes, I mean, my transition from college to the NBA, I felt like I didn't know basketball when I got to the NBA. I mean, I was in the Portland Trailblazer. We had Rasheed Wallace, Scottie Pippen, Damon Stoudemire, Sean Kemp, all these guys, Bouncy Wells.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a team so talented that actually the Portland Trailblazer, they wanted me to go to Europe because they didn't think I can make the squad, right? So I
Hmm.
just said I'm gonna give the best that I can with all the gift that God gave me. I'm gonna work hard every day, and He would decide, what He thinks is best for me. If I don't make the team, I will be at peace with my head that I did everything that I could, and then other people, I just have more talent, and that's how God gives different talent to different people. So when I got to the Portland Trailblazer,
Hmm.
I felt so robotic. Like Billy said, like it was fluid to them. They knew where things were going to happen. And I just felt like I was going through some kind of motion like a robot. And I had to learn, from some of those guys watching them on the sideline. But what I always did, I remember during the whole the training camp was just run as hard as I could, jump as hard as I could. I was hustling. I started picking up point guard full court. Seriously, just because I said this is,
Yeah.
because even during training camp, you don't get that much time even for training sometimes, right? When we start playing, putting system in place as a rookie. So every opportunity that I got
Right.
to be on the court, even for 2 or 3 minutes, I was running like a a crazy antelope around, right? Because I just wanted to show the effort that even though, I may not have had the talent of the Rashid Wallace shooting the 3-point shot, or I wasn't as strong as those guys, but I was giving everything that I could. And I made the team, that way. And
Wow.
transitioning to Europe, like Joe said, different as well.
Awesome.
It's a different game. You can be a very good player in the US, but you still have to learn the European way, right? Which is a little different. So it was the same philosophy when I went to Greece after leaving the US. It was just, practice hard, work hard, be a teammate, trying to help other people, trying to listen from them as well, no matter how old they were on a team, and just give the best. And I always just rely on my faith and just said, the way things have happened in my life from when I left my country to the United States has been a blessing for God. Honestly, it's been such a blessing. Sometimes I can't even fathom
Amen.
what I have in my life, the people that affected my family, where they are right now because of what basketball had given me, and I was able to give to them. So
That's good.
Amen.
it's just been a life of blessing, and we just, sometimes I have to remind myself when I want something, it doesn't happen, and think about the big picture, where I am actually and how things happen. But like I said, we get tested is in those transitions. I think if you keep your faith and you give the best that you can, God will show you the way and will make the decision for you. And what you want might not be what He wants, but what He wants usually is what is best for you.
That's
That's a good
awesome,
reminder.
man. That's great stuff.
I think one other
You
thing
know,
I'd add.
these kids growing up that are looking to go NBA or go college, the most important thing is one of the things you just said, Ruben, is these great players in the NBA. Look, I'm not I can't shoot as good, I can't rebound or whatever or as fast, but I can give my best,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's the key, man. I mean, I want a guy on my team that's willing to dive on the floor after loose balls, play defense, play his heart out, man, just give his all. I'll pick him over some guy that's got a lot of talent.
Yeah,
Everybody's talking his name. He's just selfish or he doesn't hustle or give his all, play sometime. True winners, true champions, they're champions all the time. And they're champions all the time because they give their all the time. Like you said, the word is consistent, Ruben.
Yes.
And guys, when you get to the NBA, we can agree. Most the greatest thing you see is the consistency of the play.
Yeah.
Guys, you play a piano, you're a pianist. You go to the concert to hear this pianist. They're consistent, but that consistency took time and a lot of work. And it looks easy, but that's what separates players. When you get to the place in high school, college, you seek to be consistent, producing what the coach wants, producing what the teacher wants, and that's what makes champions, man.
Yeah.
that's good. That's helpful. I'd say one other thing I'd add for players in any sort of transition. To me, I made a transition to a different team sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a year during my career just because of the way it played out. And one of the things that I always felt was helpful was one, being sensitive to where the team is, um, but two, staying true to who I was, knowing that I couldn't try to be a player I wasn't. I
Mhm.
had to be me. And if it would work for the team, it worked for the team. And if it didn't, I might have to move on.
Yeah.
But better yet, usually that's the advice I even give to my players is, all right, listen, you're in a transition to a new team next year. My team, even if they were on the team last year, it's a new team. You need to be you and let me figure out the details and let the team figure out how to work together. And that's often a difficult thing for young players, especially when you were trying to make the Portland Trailblazers. I was trying to make the Lakers. The moment I tried to think, what do people want from me? I couldn't play. You're playing a game, you just got to go for it. And if they like it, they like it, and if they don't, they don't. Clark, are you
Hey
back with
Joe,
us?
Hello, you guys there? I'm hearing you
Yep.
off and
Yes.
on and have
yeah, we hear
enjoyed
you.
it. This has been okay. You guys can hear me fine now. Man, I
Good.
Yes.
tell you what, you guys handled this thing quite nicely, just conversing your stories and experiences. I'm sure the folks that have tuned in have benefited. Might actually have a new format, a moderator that just listens. In part because of technical difficulties here in Central Ohio. But man, I certainly appreciate all three of you guys taking the time and sharing your hearts and connecting the dots between hoops and the principles and values you learn in the game and how that parallels in many ways faith journey and some of the disciplines that are transferable from the hardwood where we all enjoyed some success to life in general. So let's kind of move towards a close. And if I would, I'd like each of you to maybe talk about you've shared it in different ways generally, but maybe a specific nugget of spiritual guidance that has served you well that might also inspire and serve our listeners and viewers well going forward. And we'll how about you, Joe? Why don't you go first and then Ruben and then Pastor Thompson will allow you to close us out and then I'll have a few remarks to wrap up our time.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think I got one on the chat from Michael that talked about the transition from a basketball career to life after basketball, and I think it does kind of fit with the question you just asked. When I was in college, I mean, really, just from a basketball perspective, I was all basketball all the time. And about midway through my college career, the Lord got my attention. Just that, I had kind of had what I wanted. I had the success I wanted. I had the basketball going the way I wanted, and there was a sense, kind of a gnawing sense of that's it. It's not all that was supposed to be. Um, and I knew enough, just spiritually speaking. I have a hard time remember a time I didn't believe it. Now maybe I didn't live it and it wasn't central. But about midway through my college career was the time that I really mark as a turning point that the Lord became central, not myself. And one of the verses that just jumped off the page at me, and I continue to this day, is seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. I like boiling things down to kind of the simplest way possible. What's the one thing I can do that makes exponential difference? I want to coach that way. I wanted to play that way. I want to live that way. And I return to that time and time again when it's transition time, when it's times of difficulty, even times of prosperity. And when things are going well, it's really easy to start seeking all the other things and get lost in all the other things. So, whether it was a transition to a new day, moving on from a playing career, mine was a little bit easier because I knew what I wanted to do in coaching. Or whether it's just the day to day in life where you just, sometimes grinding things out, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. That's a verse I return to, and it's a principle I return to. It's oftentimes the biggest struggle in life is keeping the main thing the main thing. That's a Stephen Covey quote I have. I can look up right now. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing, and that does come from the Word, and that is a principle of life. And that's oftentimes the most difficult thing. Whether you're a husband, your father, your coach, your pastor. It's easy to get caught up in a lot of things that just don't make that big a difference. And if you can stay fixed on the things that make the biggest difference, you get all the rest. So that's a big principle I return to, and sometimes do better than others. But that's what I'm after.
All right, appreciate that, Ruben.
Yeah, for me, I grew up in a very religious family. Until today, our mother is probably the anchor for that. Throughout my life, when I was 2 years old, I probably was not supposed to be alive. I've seen God's miracle time and time in my life since I was born until I retired. Um, you know, I probably could have died from a heart attack in 2011 when I discovered I have something in my heart that prompted me to retire. But, my mother always had talked to us about, a spiritual faith and then just giving everything, to God. It was glory. Everything we're trying to do, we have to do for the purpose of giving glory to God and and receiving His blessing, but enjoying understanding it and really trying to present ourselves and act in a way that we glorify Him. So sometimes I lose sight of it. It's happened. You still remember, leaving college, I think I was in really, really good place. Going to the NBA with the struggle, kind of lose sight a little bit of it. Not that you didn't believe it, but it wasn't. I was not spiritually invested, I used to be. And then when I rediscovered somewhat the joy of playing basketball again, going to Europe, and then I met my wife, who was very religious as well. It was just, a great addition again to my life to kind of go back and and trying to live the way that I did, at least before a certain period, before the NBA life, and then just kind of looking with a purpose, the purpose and the blessing and the glory that God is giving me. So I just every day trying to do the best that I can. I trying to live spiritually in the best way I possibly can, and just trying to be as good as a person as I possibly can and help people as much as possible. So everything we're trying to do is really central and geared towards glorify God for us.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Pastor Thompson, you get the last. You get the last one.
Amen. Man, I'm just being over here because you're at Glassboro State College coaching. And when you were playing, you said, what next? What is this it? But it's not it. And the greatest thing I believe for all of us is my favorite scripture is Matthew 5.14. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. And so the only way they can do that is if they see our good works. And God gave me that my junior year at the University of Louisville when I rededicated my life. And I understand it really now. It's just that it's the light of Christ. It's the change that we all went through as believers that causes us to see life the way God sees it. And when we look at it that way, we see that there's no perfect people, and there's people that need God, our God. They need his love. They need his life that he has for them. And so we go about doing what we love doing in a way in which we convey that to the people without beating them over the head with a Bible, but we just let them know, man, God is good. We tell them our faith stories. We tell them what he's done for us, and we keep on loving on them while we go and do what God has blessed us to do. Play basketball, coach, work for a big Fortune 500 company, a global company, Siemens. And Clark here, man, just all that he's doing on sportscasting and how good he is, and just a light shine, man. So that's my message to end this, is that God is our source. And the day that we're living in now, guys, best is yet to come, because our light is getting brighter as we see the world getting darker. As you stand up, God told me this, and he said, if you stand up for me, I'll stand up for you. So no matter whatever situation the world throws at us, we just stand up on God's word. He's going to stand up behind us. He's got our back. And that's what he told me.
That's good.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen. That is fantastic. A great way to bring tonight to the close. Apologies for the technical difficulties, but I tell you what, you guys enriched me and those who were listening and watching just by sharing your stories and having the conversations you had around your professional journeys and challenges, but also the light of the Lord that's alive and in each of you. So with that, on behalf of BCI, I want to thank Billy, Ruben, Boomche, and Joe Crispin for joining us this evening, and those of you in the viewing audience for your questions as well. Archive CSL events, go to bciedge.org, and be sure and check out bluejeans.com, who recently integrated with Facebook Live. Finally, a special thanks to AIA and Blue Jeans for partnering with BCI. Be sure and follow BCI on Facebook and Twitter for info on our next CSL event on May 29th from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, just prior to the NBA Championship Series. Again, job well done, Billy, Ruben, and Joe. And good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right. Good night. Good night.
Pleasure.
Good job, everybody.